speech is the Gettysburg Address by Abraham Lincoln. This speech communicates teamwork and working as one big group instead of working separately. I hope after you listen to this speech, you learn to not disagree, but to continue as one. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. And we have come to dedicate a portion of that field to those who have fought so that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot consecrate, we cannot dedicate, we cannot hollow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. And the world will little know, no longer remember what we say here, but it will never forget what we did here. It is for those who gave their lives so that nation can live, and those who have died shall not have died in vain, but shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
Leonardo DiCaprio delivered this UN climate change speech to prove the dangers in our ever-so-changing world. I want my classmates and fellow students of St. John's to realize that climate change is a real problem and should not be overlooked anymore. As an actor, I pretend for a living. I play fictitious characters, often solving fictitious problems. I believe humankind has looked at climate change in the same way, as if it were fiction, happening to someone else's planet, as if pretending that climate change wasn't real would somehow make it go away. But I think we know better than that. Every week we're seeing new and undeniable climate events. Evidence that accelerated climate change is here now. Our droughts are intensifying, our oceans are warming and acidifying, with methane plumes rising up from beneath the ocean floor. We are seeing extreme weather events, increased temperatures, and the Western Arctic and Greenland ice sheets melting at unprecedented rates. None of this is rhetoric, and none of it is hysteria. It is fact. The scientific community knows it, industry and governments know it, even the United States military knows it. The Chief of the U.S. Navy's Pacific Command, Admiral Samuel Locklear, recently said that climate change is our single greatest security threat. My friends, this body, perhaps more than any other gathering in human history, now faces that difficult task. You can make history or be vilified by it. To be clear, this is not just about telling people to change their light bulbs or buy a hybrid car. This disaster has grown beyond the choices that individuals make. It is now about our industries and governments around the world taking large-scale decisive action. I am not a scientist, but I don't need to be, because the world scientific community has spoken, and they have given us our prognosis. If we do not act together now, we will surely perish later. We only get one planet. Humankind must become accountable on a massive scale for the wanton destruction of our collective home. Protecting our future on this planet depends on the conscious evolution of our species. This is the most urgent of times and the most urgent of messages. Now is our moment for action.
As you progress in life, many people develop certain standards and morals which they choose to live by. During her commencement address to Montgomery College, Margaret Spellings, an American politician, shares the knowledge she has gathered through facing multiple challenges. I hope you take the strong message given by this speech, evolved around the idea that you should believe in yourself, pursue your dreams, and never cease doing what you think is right. We live in a world that is changing, faster than ever, and to keep up, we all must adapt and grow. But now, more than ever, we cannot afford to fall behind the times. That means we all must be lifelong learners. Keep learning because you just never know what life has in store for you next. First, life has no limits. It's unpredictable, thrilling, awesome. And to live fully, you've got to seize opportunity. Roll with the punches. Be a little daring, and above all, keep your head in the game. To succeed, you've got to have focus, the ability to see the big picture, the courage to dig in and persevere, so that when life throws you a curve, you don't get derailed. Because life keeps you guessing. Sometimes the road stretches straight ahead. Sometimes you're stuck in 5 o'clock traffic. Sometimes you're just trying to find the nearest exit. And one thing you'll discover is that more often than not, what at first appear to be roadblocks and setbacks are the very things that'll get you where you're meant to be. But While I may not have always known where I was heading, I had focus and faith. If you believe in yourself, others will too. And if you have confidence in who you are, there is no end to what you can accomplish. Stand and deliver. It just goes to show that the only boundaries to what you can achieve are the ones that you set for yourself. Always aim high. Don't settle for what you know you can accomplish. Challenge yourself to pursue the impossible, and you'll go farther than you could ever imagine. I've always liked the story of the college student who got a C on his final paper because his idea was impossible. The idea, an overnight delivery service. The student, Fred Smith. You may know him better as the CEO of FedEx. So, don't let anyone else take the measure of your worth and capabilities. Always stand proud in who you are. Set your sights high, dream big, and never settle for anything less. If all you ever do is all you've ever done, then all you ever get is all you've ever got. It's easy to get caught up in life's routine. Take time to pause and make sure that you're living life, and life isn't living you. Have a plan, but don't be afraid to improvise. Get off the beaten path. Explore the detours and back roads. Don't be in such a hurry to get where you're going that you miss some amazing scenery along the way. The things that really matter still matter most. So go forward. Believe in yourself. Never give up. And may today be the beginning of a new journey. A great adventure. A life lived well and with purpose. Thank you.
This speech given to the Association of the Los Alamos Scientists in New Mexico right after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by Robert Oppenheimer is about nuclear science and how it affects us as people. I hope to show that even though we won World War II, drastic measures were taken to achieve that goal. They say the real importance of atomic energy does not lie in weapons that have been made. The real importance lies in the benefits from which atomic energy will bring to mankind. There may be some truth in this. I'm sure there is truth in this, because there's never in the past been a new field opened up where the real fruits of it have not been invisible from the beginning. I have a very high confidence that the fruits of atomic energy will have them all that we think and more. There are others who try to escape the immediacy of the situation by saying that, after all, war has always been very terrible. Weapons have always gotten worse and worse. This is just another weapon, and it does not create a great change. It just adds to the effectiveness of bombings. I think that these efforts to weaken and diffuse the nature of this crisis make it only more dangerous. I think it is for us to accept it as a very grave crisis, to realize that these atomic weapons which we started to make are very terrible, that they require a change, that they are not just some slight modification. To accept that the necessity for those transformations in the world would make it possible to integrate these developments into human life. As scientists, I think we have perhaps a greater ability to accept change and to accept radical change because of our experiences in the pursuit of science. And that may help us to be of some use in understanding these issues. But there's another thing. We're not only scientists, we are men too. We cannot forget our dependencies on our fellow men. I mean, not only our material dependencies, without which no science would be possible, without which we could not work. I mean also our deep moral dependencies, and that the value of science must lie in the will of men, that all our roots lie there. These are the strongest bonds, stronger than those even that bind us to one another. These are the deepest bonds that bind us to our fellow men.
Hundreds of families had lost someone in the deadly attacks, and Roosevelt helped the American people get back on their feet. This speech shows no matter how miserable times get, the United States of America can get through it as a nation. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor with looking toward the maintenance of peace in the vicinity. Indeed, 1 hour after Japanese air squadrons had commenced the bombings in the American island, the Japanese ambassador to the United States and its colleagues delivered a formal reply to the American Secretary of State that it seemed useless to continue the existing diplomatic negotiations that contained no threat or hint of war or armed attack. It will be reported that the distance of Hawaii from Japan makes it obvious that the attack was deliberately planned many days or even weeks ago. The attack yesterday on Long Island has caused severe damage to American Navy and military forces. I regret to tell you that many Americans have lost their lives. In addition, American ships have been reported torpedoed on high seas between San Francisco and Honolulu. Yesterday, the Japanese government also launched an attack against Malaya. Last night, Japanese forces attacked Hong Kong. Last night, Japanese forces attacked Guam. Last night, Japanese forces attacked the Philippine Islands. Last night, Japanese forces attacked Wake Island. And this morning, the Japanese forces attacked Midway Island. Japan has therefore undertaken a surprise offensive extending throughout the Pacific area. The facts of yesterday and today speak for themselves. The people of the United States have already formed their opinions and well understand the implications to the very safety of our nation. As Commander-in-Chief of the Army and the Navy, I have directed that all measures be taken for the safety of our nation. But always, for our whole nation, remember the character of the onslaught against us. I ask that Congress declare, since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
If your life were a book and you were the author, how would you want your story to go? That's the question that changed Amy Purdy's life forever. My speech, Living Beyond the Limits, was delivered by Amy Purdy when she won the Olympic gold medal for snowboarding. If you take anything away from my speech today, I like it to be that you should always follow your dreams and never give up, no matter what life throws at you. If your life were a book and you were the author, how would you want your story to go? That's the question that changed my life forever. I grew up in a hot Las Vegas desert, and I would dream about traveling the world and living in a place where it snowed, and I would picture all the stories that I go on to tell. Around the age of 19, the day after I graduated high school, I moved to a place where it snowed and I became a massage therapist. I liked that job. I saw that I needed to bring my hands and a massage table, and I could go anywhere. For the first time in my life, I felt free, independent, and completely in control of my life. That was until my life took a detour. One day, I came home from work with what I thought was the flu, but 24 hours later, I was in the hospital on life support, with less than a 2% chance of living. A few days into my coma, the doctors diagnosed me with bacterial meningitis, a vaccine-preventable blood disease. Over the course of 3 months, I lost my spleen, my kidneys, the hearing in my left ear, and both my legs below the knees, which meant if I ever wanted to walk again, I'd have to get prosthetic legs. With my mom sitting by my side and tears streaming down her faces, I strapped on those chunky legs for the first time and I stood up. They were so painful and so confining that all I could think of was, how am I ever going to travel the world in these? How was I ever going to live the life of adventure and stories I always wanted? How was I ever going to snowboard again? Later that day, when I got home, I crawled in a bed and I took a nap. That's what my life looked like for the next few months. Me, passed out, escaping reality with my prosthetic legs resting right beside me. I was absolutely physically and emotionally broken. But I knew that in order to move forward, I had to let go of the old Amy and embrace the new Amy. It was that exact moment that I asked myself the life-defining question. If my life were a book and I were the author, how would I want my story to go? And I began a daydream. I daydreamed like I did as a little girl. I pictured myself walking gracefully and helping others through the same trouble that I went through, and helping them snowboard again. But mainly, I daydreamed about snowboarding. I pictured myself sliding down a mountain of powder, but one time, it was different. I couldn't only see the wind up against my face, but no, I could feel it. I could feel it as if it was happening in that very moment. And that's when a new chapter of my life began. 11 years ago, when I lost my legs, I had no idea what to expect. But if you ask me today if I'd ever want to change my situation, I'd have to say no. Because if anything, losing my legs hasn't disabled me, it enabled me. It forced me to rely on my imagination and to believe in the possibilities. That's why I believe that our imaginations can be used as tools for breaking through borders. Because in our minds, we can do anything and we can be anything. It's believing in those dreams and facing our fears head on that allow us to live our lives beyond our limits. And although today it's about innovation without borders, I have to say that innovation has been the only possibility because of my borders. I've learned that, yeah, borders are where it actually ends, but it's also where the imagination and the story begins. Thank you.
In the speech I'm about to give, Randy Couch talks about finding your passion and living life to its fullest. He gave this speech to Carnegie Mellon's graduating class of 2008. The message I hope you receive after hearing this speech is not to wait on finding love and happiness, and to do everything you want to do before it's too late. Last August, I was told it is likely that I had 3 to 6 months to live. I'm on month 9 now. In light of those numbers, someone said to me, "Wow, so you really are beating the Grim Reaper." And what I said is that you don't beat him by living longer, but you beat him by living well and living fully, for he's going to come for all of us. But the question is what we will do in between the time we were born and when he shows up. Because when he shows up, it's going to be too late to do the things that you always wanted to get around to do. I think the only advice I can give you on how to live your life well is first off to remember, it's a cliche, but I love cliches. These are the things we do in life that we regret on our deathbeds. The things that we don't do. I can assure you I've done lots of really stupid things, none of them bother me. All the mistakes, all the dopey things, all the times I was embarrassed, none of that matters. What matters is that anytime I got a chance to do something cool, I tried to grab for it. The second thing I want to add to that is passion. You're going to need to find your passion. Many of you have already done it, many of you will later. Many of you may take it to your 30s or 40s to find it. No give up, because all you're doing is waiting on the Reaper. Find your passion and follow it. If there's anything I've learned in my life, it is that you will not find your passion and money on things, because the more money, the more things you have, the more you look around and use it as a metric, and there will always be somebody with more. Your passion must come from things that fill you up from the inside. Honors and rewards are nice things, but only to the extent they regard the real respect from those around you. To be thought of well by people that you think even more highly of, a tremendous honor that I've been granted. So find your passion. And find your passion. And in my experience, it won't matter what you do at work or in official settings, because your passion is going to be grounded in people. It will be grounded in the relationships you have with those around you, what your peers think of you when your time comes. So if you gain the respect and find the passion and the true love, and I've said this before, I had to wait until 39 to get married, because that's how long it took me to find someone whose happiness mattered more than mine. So if nothing else, I hope that all of you can find that kind of passion and that kind of true love in your life. Thank you.
Every day, people are bullied, opinionated, and judged online. In October 2014, Selena Gomez delivered a powerful We Day speech to encourage teens who have been cyberbullied at any point in their life. As you listen to this speech, I want you to realize that you are one of a kind, so don't let others put you down, and be confident, loving, and true to yourself. They see what they want to see, and that comes with a lot of expectations. I know what it's like to be judged and to be put down, have other people form opinions about you without even knowing you, trying to dim your light. I know what you guys go through, because I go through it every single day, but I don't let it get to me. It's entirely normal to get pulled off course. I want to say you are not defined by an Instagram picture, by a like, by a comment. That does not define you at all. The trick is to focus on the love. What I want you to do with every rude comment that you get, with every person that tries to hurt you personally or through the internet, I want you to forgive them because they don't even know. They have no idea. There is so much love in this world. Do not limit yourselves because of what others expect. We all deserve more than we think. And in the end, nobody remembers those haters, the comments. Nobody remembers them. They're just background noise. In the end, all that matters is what we leave behind and the lives that we touch on the way. It's a lesson that I'm still trying to learn, but I'm grateful for what I have and I'm ready for what comes next in my life. And if you take just one thing from today, let it be this. I want you to believe in yourselves because I believe in you and you guys need to believe in each other. Thank you so much. Like my friend Taylor says, the haters are gonna hate, just shake it off. So just do you, be true to yourself, love yourself, have confidence in yourself, and everything will be fine. I am so excited for what's gonna come next for you guys. Thank you so much.
This is a speech about connecting the dots. Steve Jobs first gave this speech to the graduating class of Stanford in 2005. I hope that you will learn from this that sometimes your mistakes are what make you successful. Today I want to tell you a story from my life. That's it, no big deal, just a story about connecting the dots. I dropped out of Vari College after the first 6 months, but then stayed around as a drop-in for another 18 months or so before I really quit. So why did I drop out? It started before I was born. My mother was a young, unwed college graduate student who had decided to put me up for adoption. She felt very strongly that I should be adopted by college graduates, so it was all set for me to be adopted at birth by a lawyer and his wife. Except that for when I popped out, they decided at the last minute that they really wanted a girl. So my parents got a call in the middle of the night asking, "We have an unexpected baby boy. Do you want him?" They said, "Of course." My biological mother later found out that my mother had never graduated from college and my father had never graduated from high school, and she refused to sign the final adoption papers. She relented a few months later after my parents promised her that I would someday go to college. And 17 years later, I did go to college, but I naively chose a college that was almost as expensive as Stanford, and all of my working class parents' savings were being spent on my tuition. After 6 months, I couldn't see the value in it. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, and no idea how college was going to help me figure that out. So I dropped out and trusted that it would all be okay. It was pretty scary at the time, but looking back, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. The minute I dropped out, I could stop taking the required classes that didn't interest me and start dropping in on those that did. It wasn't all romantic though. I didn't have a dorm room, so I slept on the floor in friends' rooms. I returned Coke bottles to get the 5-cent deposits to buy food with, and I would walk the 7 miles across town every Sunday just to get one good meal at the Hare Krishna temple. And I loved it. And much of what I stumbled into just by following my pure curiosity and intuition, I found to be priceless later on. Let me give you one example. Reed College at the time offered what was perhaps the best calligraphy instruction in the country. Throughout the campus, every poster, every label on every drawer was beautifully hand calligraphed. Because I didn't have to take the normal classes, I decided to take a calligraphy class to learn how to do this. I learned about serif and sans serif typefaces, and about varying the amount of space between different letter combinations, and about what makes great typography great. It was beautiful, historical, and artistically subtle in a way that science can't capture, and I found that fascinating. None of this had even a hope of any practical application in my life, but 10 years later, when we were designing the first Macintosh computer, it all came back to me, and we designed it all into the Mac. If I had never dropped into a single course in college, the Mac would have never had multiple typefaces or proportionately spaced fonts. And since Windows just copied the Mac, it's likely that no personal computer would have them. If I had never dropped out, I would have never dropped into this calligraphy course, and personal computers might not have the wonderful typography that they do. Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward, but it was very, very clear to do so looking backwards. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. You have to trust that somehow the dots will align in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down and has made all the difference in my life.
Your imagination is the heart and soul of accomplishing anything that is truly important. That's what swim coach Jim Steen is talking about when he gives his commencement address at Kenyon College to the beloved swimmers at their graduation. You see, when you want to do something, everybody always says, work your hardest and you can accomplish anything, right? Wrong. Sometimes you need a little creativity and imagination to accomplish your goals. If you take away anything from this speech, I want you to take away this. If you want to do the impossible, you only need one thing, your imagination. Because with that, you can do anything and go anywhere. Regardless of how you perform, we can all agree that whether you subscribe to the 10,000 hour rule or not, a sustained period of focused attention and applied effort is absolutely essential at getting better at anything that truly matters. And yet, hard work, in my experience, is not the sole determination of one's capacity to achieve. In fact, one's sense of what can be accomplished in any endeavor, what is truly possible, is often compromised by too much hard work and too little imagination. All work and no play will make you dull. All work and no imagination will definitely make you an underperformer. Of this, I'm absolutely convinced. It has been in my experience that the hardest workers are not always the most prolific performers. The correlation between grinding it out, day in and day out, and the capacity to perform at transcendent levels does not always appear to be direct. If you have a limited imagination, a limited concept of what is truly possible, then performing at truly transcendent levels is always compromised by a little hard work and not as much imagination. If you have the talent to excel, and you may have the intelligence to excel, you may have the work ethic and competitiveness to excel. But the real question is, do you have the imagination to constantly reform your reality so that it consists with your highest aspirations? Imagination fuels perspective, and perspective puts one in touch with the bigger picture. The bigger picture, in turn, allows for more possibilities and more ideas. Performing at one's best begins with creation of an idea. Nothing more, nothing less. So ask yourself this: do you have the imagination to see yourself doing something truly exceptional? Certainly, it is difficult to sustain a leap of imagination that is in part grounded in the knowledge of one's inherent abilities. But in my experience, a leap of imagination is often compromised, but it's been in my experience that people greatly undervalue their capacity to perform, and as a result, their capacity to achieve. Imagination can be improved. Committing oneself to any worthwhile endeavor requires you to do so. By attaching your efforts to whatever you choose to do in a way that stimulates your imagination, you enhance your capacity to perform at any level. Logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. Thank you.
This speech is The Secrets of Success, said by Eric Thomas. He talks about the importance of success and to never stop until you achieve your goals. I hope to teach you a little bit about effort, drive, and motivation. Now, I don't know how many of y'all have asthma here today, but if you have ever had an asthma attack, you know that you are short of breath. You have shortness of breath and you are wheezing. The only thing you are trying to do is get some air. You don't care about your basketball game. You don't care about what's on TV. You don't care about anybody calling you. You don't care about any of those parties. The only thing you care about when you're trying to breathe is to get some fresh air. That's it. And when you get to the point where all you want to do is be successful, as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. I'm here to tell you all that number one, most of you say you want to be successful, but you don't want it bad. You just kind of want it. You don't want it as bad as you want to party. You don't want it as bad as you want to be cool. Most of you don't want success as bad as you want to sleep. I'm here to tell you all today, if you're going to be successful, you're going to have to give up some sleep. You're going to have to work with 4 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep. If you really want to be successful, some of you are going to have to stay up 3 days in a row. Because if you go to sleep, you might miss the opportunity to be successful. Listen to me, pain is temporary. It may last a minute, an hour, a day, or even a year, but eventually it will subside, and something else will take its place. If I quit, however, it'll last forever. I dare you all to take a little pain. I dare you. I dare you to go to the gym when you're having a bad day. Somebody said, I feel bad today. I'm not going to go to the gym. Go through it. You're not going to die. At the end of pain is success. You're not going to die because you're feeling a little pain. Somebody said, I'm not eating like I usually do. That's why you're going to go to the next level. Because if you eat like you eat on your off days, you're going to remain a boy and a girl. It's time to become a man and a woman. But I'm exactly where I want to be. Because I got to commit my entire being to this thing. I got to breathe it, sleep it, and eat it. Until you get there, you will never be successful in life. But once you get there, I guarantee you, the world is yours. So work hard, and you can have whatever it is you want in this life.